I want you to think about the most powerful person you know. Not the loudest, not the most visible, not the one who fills every room with noise and opinion and commentary. The most powerful. And I want you to notice something about that person. They don't say much. They choose their words. They measure their responses. They move through the world with a kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty. It feels loaded, like there is something underneath it, like there is more going on beneath the surface than most people will ever be allowed to see. That is not coincidence. That is not personality. That is strategy. And today I'm going to show you why your silence, the very thing you've been apologizing for, the very thing people have been pressuring you to break, is the most powerful tool available to you. We live in a world that is addicted to noise. Every platform, every channel, every conversation, every moment of the day there is something demanding your voice, demanding your reaction, demanding that you respond, that you comment, that you weigh in, that you take a side, that you make yourself known. And if you don't, if you choose to be quiet, the world has names for that. They call you cold, mysterious, difficult, antisocial, loud. They say you think you're better than everyone. They say something must be wrong with you. They say you need to open up more, share more, give more of yourself. So most people do. They comply. They fill the silence. They talk, not because they have something to say, but because the silence made someone else uncomfortable. They have been trained from childhood to manage other people's discomfort. But here's what I want you to understand today. The most dangerous thing you can do for your future is to let other people's discomfort with your silence cause you to empty yourself in public. Your silence is not a problem to be fixed. It is a power to be understood. Let me define something. Because silence is widely misunderstood. Most people think silence is the absence of something. The absence of words. The absence of response. The absence of engagement. But real silence, strategic silence, is not an absence at all. It is a presence. It is the presence of control, the presence of discernment, the presence of a mind that is operating at a level that doesn't require constant external expression to confirm its own existence. Think about water. Still, water runs deep. Have you ever stood at the edge of a river that looked completely calm on the surface, and then put your hand in and felt the current underneath? The stillness at the surface told you nothing about the power below it. That is what silence is. It is the still surface above a deep current. And the people who have mastered it, who have learned to control what they say when they say it, and more importantly, what they choose never to say, those people carry a quality that cannot be manufactured by any amount of skill or strategy. They carry mystery. And mystery creates power in a way that familiarity never can. When people know everything about you, when you have shared every thought, every reaction, every opinion, every insecurity, they have nothing left to discover, and people stop paying attention to things they've already figured out. But when you are selective, when you reveal yourself slowly and on your own terms, when there is always more beneath the surface than you've put on display, people lean in, pay closer attention. They assign you more depth. They treat your words, when you do speak, with a weight and a seriousness they would never give to someone who fills every silence with sound. Silence creates value for your words, the same way scarcity creates value for anything. When something is rare, truly rare, its worth increases automatically, not because it changed, because the supply did. Speak less, and watch what happens to the weight of what you say. Now I need to talk about something uncomfortable, because there is a cost to breaking your silence. Most people don't understand what it is until the damage is done. When you feel that pressure, that anxious, uncomfortable pull to fill a silence, to respond to a provocation, to react to criticism, to explain yourself, to explain, to engage, and you give into it, and you give into it, you have just shown someone exactly where your buttons are. And I want you to understand the significance of that. Every time you react, every time your silence breaks under pressure, you have given information to the person who applied that pressure. You've shown them what matters to you, what threatens you, what unsettles you, what you can't let pass without responding. And now they have a map of your emotional architecture, a map of where you are exposed, a map of exactly which doors to knock on when they want a reaction from you. And people use that map, not always maliciously, but they use it. The colleague who knows exactly which comment will throw you off before a meeting. Family member who knows exactly which question will make you spend the rest of the day doubting yourself. The person in your life who has learned, through years of watching your reactions, exactly how to redirect your energy toward them and away from your own goals. They found those doors because you opened them. You opened them by breaking your silence at the wrong moments, for the wrong people, in the wrong situations. Silence protects you. Not in a passive way, not in a hiding way, in the way that a closed fortress wall protects what is inside, not by being weak, but by being impenetrable. But there's something else you lose when you break your silence unnecessarily. You lose processing time. This might be the most practically costly thing on this list. Your best thinking does not happen out loud. Your best decisions are not made in the middle of a heated conversation. Your deepest insights do not come when your mouth is running ahead of your mind. They come in stillness. Every truly great thinker, every person who has built something of lasting significance, has understood this. The answer that solves the problem. The idea that changes the direction. Decision that, looking back, was the turning point. These things emerge from silence, not from noise, from silence. When you fill every moment with sound, when you talk through every thought before it has had time to mature, you are eating fruit before it's ripe. You are speaking ideas before they've had time to become convictions. You are reacting before you've had time to respond. And there is an enormous difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is immediate, unfiltered, driven by emotion. It comes from the surface. A response is considered, intentional, chosen. It comes from depth. Silence is what stands between the provocation and the response. And the people who have mastered this, who have learned to hold the space between what they feel and what they say, those people are almost impossible to manipulate, because they never give you the reaction you were looking for. They give you silence. And then, in their own time, on their own terms, they give you a response. I want to talk about why people pressure you to break your silence. Because they do. And it is relentless. You're too quiet. Say something. What are you thinking? Why aren't you reacting? You're so hard to read. These things are said as though being quiet is a problem, as though being hard to read is a flaw. But I want you to understand what is actually happening when someone says these things to you. They are uncomfortable, and they want you to manage that discomfort for them. A silent person is deeply unsettling to someone who needs external validation for their own thoughts. If they say something and you don't react, they don't know what to do with that. They can't calibrate. They can't tell if they're winning or losing. They can't measure the impact they're having. And people who need that measurement, people whose sense of security is tied to knowing exactly where they stand in every interaction, a quiet person destabilizes them entirely. Your silence is not making them uncomfortable because something is wrong with it. Your silence is making them uncomfortable because it is working. But I want to go deeper than that. There are people in your circle, and I want you to hear this clearly, who specifically need you to be loud, who need you reactive, who need you predictable, not for your benefit, for theirs. Because a quiet person is hard to control. A person who speaks without thinking can be led. You can rile them up. You can send them in a direction. You can use their own mouth against them. You can watch them reveal their strategy, their insecurities, their next move. All in real time because they can't hold it. But a person who has mastered their silence, who sits with information before they respond to it, who does not perform their thinking for an audience, that person is extraordinarily difficult to manipulate. And if there are people in your life who have been managing you, directing you, keeping you in a predictable pattern that benefits them, your silence is their single greatest threat. Not your talent, not your work ethic, not your intelligence, your silence. Because once you stop reacting on cue, once you stop filling their silences with your words and their requests with your energy, they lose the mechanism they've been using to keep you where they want you. This is why the pressure to break your silence so often comes from the people who have the most to gain from your noise. Now, and this is important, I am not telling you to become cold. I am not telling you to disengage from the world or from the people who genuinely love you. I am telling you to become intentional. To choose when you speak, why you speak, and who you speak to. To stop treating your words as something that belongs to everyone, and to start treating them as something that belongs to you. Something precious. Something not to be handed out freely to people who have not earned them. So, how do you build this? Because knowing the value of silence and actually practicing it are two different challenges. Here are 4 disciplines, not suggestions. Disciplines. Because this requires practice the way any other skill requires practice. First discipline, pause before you respond. Every time, not sometimes. Every time someone says something, your instinct fires. You feel the words forming. Before you let them out, you pause. 1 breath. Sometimes 5 seconds. Sometimes longer. This is not hesitation. This is not weakness. This is the most powerful thing you can train yourself to do in conversation. Because in that pause, you are asking yourself one question. Is this worth saying? Not, is this true? Not, do I want to say it? Not, do I have the right to say it? Is this worth saying? Will this advance my purpose? Will this build what I'm trying to build? Will this serve the relationship or the situation in a meaningful way? If the answer is no, you have just saved yourself from giving away something you cannot get back. Most of what people say in a day doesn't need to be said. It's filler. It's performance. The noise people make to avoid the discomfort of being with themselves in silence. You are training yourself out of that habit. Pause. Ask the question. And only open your mouth when the answer is yes. Second discipline, stop narrating your process. This one is subtle, but it changes everything. Most people, as they are working towards something, feel the need to talk about it, to announce it, to share the vision, the plan, the progress, the setbacks, the learnings. And I understand the impulse. Verbalizing something makes it feel more real. Sharing it creates a sense of connection and accountability. But here's what actually happens when you announce a goal before you've achieved it. Your brain registers the social recognition that comes from the announcement, the interest, the encouragement, the congratulations, and it partially satisfies the need that was driving you toward the goal. The need to be seen, the need for recognition. And that partial satisfaction costs you momentum. Research has confirmed what the wisest people throughout history have always known. Keep your goals quiet. Not forever. Not out of secrecy for its own sake. But until the work is done. Until the result is visible. Until there is something to show rather than something to tell. The people who move fastest toward their goals are not the ones talking about them most. They are the ones so consumed with the work that they don't have time to narrate it. Build in silence. Emerge with results. Third discipline, master the uncomfortable silence. In conversation, in negotiation, in any situation where there is tension or pressure. Most people cannot tolerate silence. They rush to fill it. And every time they do, they give ground. They lower the price. They accept a lesser offer. They take responsibility for something that wasn't theirs to take. They apologize when they weren't wrong. They over-explain when they didn't need to. All because the silence was uncomfortable. And they needed it to end. Start practicing the opposite. When someone says something that requires a response, let there be silence first. Let the silence do some of the work. Let it communicate what your words don't need to. In negotiation, this is one of the most powerful tools available. Make an offer, and then stop talking. Let the silence expand. Most people will break it before you do. And when they do, they'll often give you more than you asked for. In conflict, silence after a provocation is not defeat. It is dominance. Because you are demonstrating something the other person cannot fake, that their attempt to destabilize you did not work. In conversation, a moment of genuine silence, held with composure, communicates more presence and more depth than 10 minutes of words. Learn to be comfortable where other people are not. Learn to sit in silence without needing to rescue anyone from it, including yourself. Fourth discipline, protect your inner world. This is perhaps the deepest one. Your thoughts, your genuine, unfiltered, unperformed thoughts, are the raw material of everything you are building. They are where your ideas come from, where your convictions form, where your understanding of yourself develops. Every time you externalize them before they're ready, every time you speak a half-formed thought into the world before it has had time to mature, you expose it to other people's reactions before it's strong enough to withstand them. A seed buried in dark soil, given time and quiet, grows into something strong. But pull it out too early, expose it to the elements before the roots have formed, and it withers. Your inner life is the same. Not every thought needs an audience. Not every feeling needs to be announced. Not every struggle needs to be broadcast. Not every doubt needs to be shared. Some things are meant to be lived privately, processed privately, resolved privately. Not because you are hiding, but because you understand that privacy is not secrecy, it is wisdom. The strongest version of you is not built in public. It is built in the quiet space that most people are too restless and too distracted to ever find. Protect that space. Jealously. Consistently. Because everything you will ever produce, every meaningful thing you will ever build or become, begins there. Let me leave you with this. The world will never stop demanding your noise. Will always be there. The pressure to react, to respond, to explain, to perform, to make yourself legible to people who haven't earned access to your depth. That pressure does not go away. But you can change your relationship to it. You can learn, one conversation at a time, one moment of restraint at a time, to become a person whose silence carries more weight than most people's words. You can learn to let your stillness unsettle the things that were designed to unsettle you. You can learn to build in private, move in quiet, and emerge with something so undeniable that the noise you refuse to make is completely forgotten. Your silence is not emptiness. It is depth. It is strategy. It is self-possession. It is the mark of a person who has decided that they will no longer be available to every demand, every provocation, every invitation to empty themselves in public. The most powerful thing in the room is rarely the loudest thing in the room. And the most powerful version of you is the one that has learned to be still